All right, where was I? I wasn't anywhere. Uh, I really wasn't on set all that much, or at least not with the rest of the cast. Because if you notice, I'm in a lot of the movie, and yet I'm not in almost any of the movie in terms of my character or Spoony, the character Spoony, is relatively out of this movie. In fact, he's almost not in any of the movies as myself. Now I'm talking like I'm two different people, but yeah. Um, for the most part, I'm usually concealed under some kind of costume, like Doctor Insano most of the time. Uh, Epic Brawl. I wasn't really. I was just kind of a side character in that. I guess the one I'm in most is Gandalf, but even then, I'm kind of posing as Ian McKellen. And in this one, I kind of start off. They establish that I'm possessed, and then I'm comatose for all of this. And for the most part, I am Turl in this movie. And so the thing is, Turl spends no time with any of the rest of the cast. I was only with Zod through almost the entire movie. My interactions with everyone else were very limited. So Spoony was only in a few scenes, the ones where I'm getting my head probed, and the one where they pull me out of the box, and to a small degree, the one where I'm in the coma. But even then, I spend most of the time just with Film Brain. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that it's really my side characters that get the most screen time. I guess what does that say about me? I'm not a very interesting person outside of the characters. I don't know. I did kind of hang out on set sometimes when I wasn't going to get in the way. Like I said, I was never on the bridge set, so I like to kind of poke around there between takes. But yeah, almost no interaction with anyone else. So I was surprised to see everyone else acting. I remember being kind of frustrated with CR. I was down there. It was near the end of the shoot, or at least near the end of the movie with the scenes we were shooting. And I remember he had a lot of problems with this one speech, and it was like, God, this guy, where did we get him? Like, because he just couldn't spit it out. We spent like 20 minutes on this speech. I was like, God damn it, CR, let's do this, let's go. And I got snobbish. I was like, this is why we don't have non-actors on the set. And then I saw the movie, and he's really good in it. And the reason was I got him in a technobabble speech, and nobody could spit that shit out. And he wanted to do it right, of course. So there's that. And so I was blown away by CR's performance, and in fact, a lot of people I wouldn't expect to get good performances out of because they are, to use a poor phrase, non-actors. Ah, fart joke. Always classy. But by me non-actors, I mean people who don't have traditional theater experience. And there I go, assuming CR doesn't. But I don't think many of the producers do. And I was surprised by virtually everybody who, some of these guys are given pretty weighty stuff. By that I mean like Film Brain, he actually has a kind of intense role at times. Bennett, who is actually very proud of his acting to the point where he's Bennett was very disappointed in Suburban Nights when they cut the take where he weeps real tears over Mati, and I will admit it's well done. Uh, he actually wanted to be very intense where he's shaking Film Brain. He's like, "Tell me." He's like, he walked away from that take going, "Damn, I was good," and I was like, "You were good. It was pretty good." He's like, "They're gonna cut that take. I know they will," and I think they used it. But even Brad and Luke, in some cases they were kind of have the scene where they're sleeping together. They had some kind of heartfelt moments together. Linkara, he was very adamant about keeping Mechakara as one of the only characters who wasn't overtly funny or wacky. He's very protective of that character. And of course it works here because he wants to be kind of legitimately menacing. But yeah, everyone here, even Angry Joe, I was really stunned at a lot of these guys' range. Joe, for one of the very few moments in his career, you see him as being a very thoughtful. I want to say nostalgic, but you see a side of Joe you rarely see at the very end of the movie, where he kind of looks wistful and says, I don't even remember the last review, the first review I did, but you actually see the guy's got a lot of range, and I keep saying I'm very impressed with the emotional range on his face. He has one of the most emotional faces I've seen, at least that conveys emotion. This is one of the more controversial role decisions in the movie, where Jo plays Edward from Cowboy Bebop. Mostly because I think Doug he started off when he wrote the script wanting us all to be kind of in kind of a spacey character type thing where we're kind of doing impressions of the normal characters again, and they cut that idea out pretty quickly, where it was like we would show up kind of in costumes if we wanted, so like we weren't playing a character. We just like Paul was the science officer, so he put Vulcan ears on, and CR was the engineer, so he felt like putting on little Geordie mask, things like that. But there was also other characters who didn't do that, like Nostalgia Chick, 8-Bit Mickey, even Juwario didn't put a costume on. He was just the helmsman, so he had the little wee wheel. Yes, this decision to turn the ship into a house so we could just shoot inside a house. Although I will say we did justify it to an extent, so we didn't have to shoot entirely in front of a green screen. The Zod role always Big Lebowski reference here, kind of. Yes, really tied the room together. Okay, where was I? Zod. Zod as a character kind of fascinated me because he acts like a really fey version of Zod. I guess what really surprises me is, and I think this is a really big plot hole, even greater than the justification for all our normal plot holes is in fact the plot hole, is that General Zod never acts like a Kryptonian. Oh my god. I, soak this in, ladies. Yeah, this was I think a lot of the Dune references were spawned from the fact that Rob and I would endlessly quote Dune at each other for like the last 3 years. And so Doug was like, fuck it. I'm going to write all the Dune shit I can into this movie so you get it out of your fucking system. So yeah, he gave me the Baron Harkonnen speech, and of course the Harkonnen Speedo, which I lobbied hard for. I was like, Rob was like, I think we might cut some scenes. I was like, you're not cutting the Speedo scene, are you? And he's like, I don't know. You can't cut the Speedo. I want the Speedo scene. He's like, okay. He's like, I kind of want it too because it's just so weird. And he's like, but where are you gonna get it? And I'm like, I know a guy. Yeah, the guy made my Speedo for me, and it's awesome. I still have it. I still wear it sometimes, just around the house. My brother does not enjoy that. But yeah, Zod, I was like, it's even been brought up. They're like, why doesn't he just kind of fly around in space and beat up the critic's house? Because he's got all the powers of Superman. He's powered by Earth's yellow sun, so like he should be flying around and shit. And he just kind of, he gets blown up. He's just this kind of weird, fruity guy who hangs out with a bathrobe on his shirt. Oh God. But I guess Turl doesn't really act like Turl. In fact, what's kind of funny is a lot of the impressions we do, especially the villains. I guess Zod is pretty close, but even then, he's kind of got this voice up here like Kermit, and I don't remember the actual Zod being really that close, and especially my Turl voice. My Turl voice is kind of like Travolta in Battlefield Earth when he only gets really shrill a couple times in that movie where he kind of he when he's really, really thrashing about in his acting and noshing heavy on scenery, that's when he gets very high and very over theatrical. He actually doesn't do that for the most part in Battlefield Earth. It's only like 2 or 3, and those are the funniest scenes, by the way. But for the most part, in the movie, he kind of speaks through clenched teeth because he's so irritated at people not getting leverage. Like, you know, Travolta he grits his teeth and speaks through clenched teeth most of the time in that movie, and he's usually not really angry in that movie. And what's funny is when he's chewing the scenery in his really angry moments, he seems to affect like this pseudo British accent, pseudo English accent. I'm sorry, whatever you want to call it. I got in trouble last time for saying British accent. I don't even know. But yeah, he goes. There's this one famous line, or where famous to me, where he's got this communicator out, and he goes, "This is Talia, chief of security," and it's like, "What the fuck are you doing, Travolta?" Like he's got this like British, really, because he doesn't do that. He like I said, it's only when he's being really femmy, I guess, where like there's another really funny line where he's intimidating Forrest Whitaker or something like that, and he's like, you know where I heard it? The friendly bartender, and he pulls this guy's severed head out. So I've said before that I was never really quite happy with my Turl impression, especially the first time you see him. I was like, I didn't capture the essence of Travolta in that movie because he actually does have kind of two Turl voices, the clenched teeth one, and then really shrill Turl. And Doug has always insisted. He's like, no, no, you were great. I loved it. And so I believe he was back a second time, and I practiced, and I still didn't really get it, but it was closer. And so when he told me that Turl was like the main villain or number two villain in this movie, I was like, damn, I really want to nail this. So and Doug was like, Doug heard me say that. He's like, no, 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 same way, the same way. I love that Takei bit. um, so I was like, really, you want it the same way? And he's like, I mean, like that's really not Turl. And he's like, yeah, but it's great. And so I was like, okay. But I was like, when I got off the Skype with him, I was like, I'm gonna learn it anyway. So I spent like a week just doing the clenched teeth Turl voice because he does that most of the time. And so I usually gave him a take where I was really, hamming it up like normal, and then I would usually give him a take where I did the annoyed voice. And Rob was even like, I don't know, I didn't know why you were doing that on set because we told you not to do it. But he says in editing, it worked for a lot of scenes because he just said it worked really well. So, and also Travolta's very big on hand acting, where he like throws his right hand up and spins it around, with his wrist, doing a Shakespearean thing. And so I try to do that as much as possible. And so Rob is like, I don't know why you were doing that, but it worked. In some cases it worked because he kind of needed some, I won't say menace, but he needed that annoyance in his voice sometimes, where he's like, and who the devil are you? And we're still no catcher the close to catching the critics. That kind of angry voice. And so yeah, it's good I did that, but still I do the really shrill Shakespearean like this. This There was controversy on the set over this scene. Oh my God, the controversy. I'm actually surprised as much of this scene made it into the movie as it did. Because, okay, Film Brain is knocking on the door, and he hears inside what he estimates to be like sex sounds. I think they added in like the power drill noises to like make it clear they weren't like there was no rape going on, and as you'll see, rape was a major underlying factor of controversy in the weeks to come. We know. So yeah, I can't even remember who was more disturbed by this, but they were like, they filmed the scene and they're like, we kind of object to this scene because it's implied that Mekakara is raping her. And I wasn't helping. I was like, well, in a way, he technically is, because he's turning her into a cyborg or whatever. So that technically that counts. And they're like, "Shut up, Spoony," and I'm like, "Okay." Um, so, but yeah, there were a few lines I think she had to scream out. I can't remember what they were, but I think it was stuff like "It's so big" or something. I can't even remember, but in reference to the drill. Um, oh my god, it's so wrong. But there was actually, it wasn't, I won't say an argument, but there was debate. I guess there was kind of intense debate on whether or not we should change the scene or reshoot the scene. And I'm surprised they even made reference to any sexual contact in this movie, where the characters are looking back and forth, like, yeah, you know what happened, and they keep referencing like, well, of course they're together. They were doing it just now, and stuff like that. But yeah, they cut most of that out. I think, uh, at least it wasn't as heavy as it was implied in the script. I have to take issue with Juwario's shirt. It's incorrect. It says Link plus the Master Sword and Ganon, but Ganon was defeated by the Silver Arrow, wasn't he? If I may nitpick. Oh, watch this. If you really wanna have fun with this movie, Oreo, please. Hang on. Oreo does love her squeaky toy, but yeah, let's play Spot the Neckbeard in this movie. You see how it's barely hanging on, and now it's way better. No, still hanging on by a thread. But yeah, the neckbeard was a constant source of struggle or annoyance in that movie because I have this thing where I get hot really easily. I overheat or something like that. So like even in Chicago where it was much colder, I was walking around in t-shirts. I just run hot or something like that. So of course I'm in this heavy jacket. I'm in motorcycle pants. I'm wearing like 3 layers. I'm wearing this dreadlock wig that's made mostly of fucking plastic, you know. And then I've got like 3 layers of prosthetics on myself. So I've got the neck beard, I've got the goatee, I've got the mustache, and I've got these little silver things glued to the side of my head you can never see anyway. So I'm sweating balls in that costume, and I was sweating off the spirit gum like crazy. Spirit gum, what you use to hold on, fake mustaches and stuff like that. And I was actually not putting the spirit gum on properly either. So we were actually putting it on way too heavy. And actually, spirit gum is the kind of thing where if you put it on really heavy, it doesn't hold. You're supposed to put, I won't say a very light amount, but a lighter amount, and let it air out for a minute. You put the spirit gum both on the place you're going to put the mustache, and you're supposed to put a thin layer on the mustache itself. And then you let it air out and let it get tacky for a minute, and then you put it on, and then the hold is very, very strong, even if you're sweating. In fact, a lot of people say, I was sweating balls and the thing didn't come off, but I put it on improperly, and then we were as it was falling off, and it would fall off all the time because I was sweating so bad, we just slathered the spirit gum on, and we would hold for like 5 minutes and then drop off again. And so there was often the cry of makeup on the set, and our very patient makeup gal would come over and smear the spirit gum back on me, and there you go. But yeah, if you want to play Spot the Neckbeard and its various stages of falling off, there you go. You can also see the hair clips I did to keep the dreadlocks back, because the wig itself was kind of designed to hang over your eyes. It's called the beach bum wig, so I had to clip the dreadlocks back. Bennett also doing his Charlie's Angels stance, which is not sci-fi, but I'll let it slide. I think they actually in post graded the film to look green like The Matrix. Not sure why, because this, in fact, is not The Matrix. Clearly. Panda, once again, stealing every fucking scene he's in. Rob said that... He's dead to me, as are you. I think it was Rob who said this was my best scene, and actually I kind of disagree, where he says, like, the take where you go, it's kind of crowded in my brain or something like that. He said that was really, really good. Like, you could see the conflict and tension in my eyes. I don't know. I crack me up. See, that was genius, right there. You believed it. You believed that Mati was in my consciousness. Yep, a terrible Mati impression. That's also something I always found funny. I'm probably repeating myself in a minute, but like I said, the villains here, they sound nothing like their actual characters. Like Bargo's Mati, nothing like actual Mati, but we rolled with it. Like, I guess we were committed at that point. Very intense moment. We're staring them down, and my neckbeard looks great. Part 4 coming up. Part 4. Yeah. Anyway, check back soon.